Okay, so sitting here with Honey Rockwell and Orko, can you all say which city you're from and the cruise you're representing?
Okay. What's up? I'm Honey Rockwell. I used to be down with Rocksteady Crew, Seven Grandmasters, Heartbreakers, Watts Crew, Wizards of the Style, True Essentia, Bgirl Mafia, Rock the Floor, Rockwell Dance Academy, and Rockwell Romero.
All right, what's up? Bboy Orko, I'm from LA. The first crew I was down with was called Shake City Rockers. And then from there, from Shake City, gave birth to Air Force Crew. And from Air Force Crew, and then I resurfaced again when the scene got hype in the mid-90s. I was down. I was asked by Legs to be down with Rocksteady, so I was with Rocksteady for a while. And then after that, we went on to become, from Rocksteady, another little commando crew from Rocksteady, which became known as the Seven Grandmasters, Seven Gems. Huh. And then I became, my crew was a family. I became a family man. And then now I'm back training again, and inspiring and trying to pass on the culture and the talent and the spirit of the dance to the youth. So now we're at Rockwell Dance Academy. You know, we're here in Georgia and having a blast.
Yep. So we're sitting here at the Rockwell studio.
Right, yes.
Right. So I guess
some artwork by Dizzo.
Oh yeah.
Dizzo, Mad Clout, yes.
Yeah, we got graffiti. Mm-hmm. So what made you all want to come down here to Georgia? You know,
it is. I'm from LA, right? And then Honey is from New York, from the Bronx, coast to coast. So that's real love right there for two people that are from different coasts to get together. And I actually flew to New York, and then we got a little house in Jersey. And then that winter, we had 4 foot of snow, and I was like, we're getting out of here. We're not doing this. Me and the cold didn't get together. We didn't mix, and I was like, we got to get out of here. When I got this thing called cabin fever, when there's just so much snow and you feel suffocated, you feel in a box. I just wanted to get out, run. I couldn't because the door was like almost stuck with snow outside. You know, I couldn't push it open. So, I applied for different jobs throughout, nationwide from the field that I was blessed to do, which is work with natural gas. And the state of Georgia offered me a good position down here, a good paying job with benefits and so what have you. So we came down here all in faith. We didn't, everywhere we go, we know people, but it's not like family. So we came here just with hope and faith, and everything else, man, has just, just God's doing has unraveled or opened up just, with the places that God wants to take us, and so here we're here now because of work. I didn't really want to go back to LA and Honey. I mean, we're not staying in New York. So Georgia was nice. It was a neutral ground for both of us, as far as for new territory, new friends, a new family, new experiences, new struggles with a new person, a partner relationship. And so thank God we got married, down here in Georgia in Marietta Square.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so it was just, I think it's just the will of God that we're down here. Pretty much, so.
Okay. Wow, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
So how is it? Okay. So and now we'll go to the breaking side. So
okay.
We have like what you all are doing now, and now where you all coming from? What inspired you all to break, and how long have you been breaking?
Okay. So let me get this one. Okay. What inspired me to break? Well, I was born in the Bronx, and it was our generation, so I was a teenager in the 80s, young teenager in the 80s, and so it was part of our culture and our fad dancing of what was happening back then, and it was all over, New York and the TV, the commercials and stuff, so it was just our way of life. After I was a gymnast in high school, competing with USGF and competing high school gymnastics at the same time. I met a lady that actually, her name goes by the Lori Eastside, and she was my choreographer at a gymnastics school that I went to. One day she calls me up and she's like, hey, I've got an awesome opportunity for you to participate in a movie. Mannequin Part 2. And, it was she spoke to my mom about it. We got letters from the teachers in my school, like, because I was going to be away for a long time, and I didn't have to audition. I was able to just get the part. One of the girls got hurt or something, and they were like, I know you can do it. I want you to participate. So I went to Philly, and we filmed the movie Mannequin. I was there for about 2 weeks, and it was 2 weeks of being introduced to someone who changed the course of my life forever. Louis New Wave, may he rest in peace. He's the one that started me. I would see him. He would, we were in these apartments in Philly, and he would show me his dance styles of popping and waving, and I was just like, oh, that's so fresh, And he's like, and I would flip everywhere, so I'm flipping, he's popping and waving. Oh, I need you to meet these people in New York when we get back. I want you to, train with them. And he was always talking to me about the guys, and I'm like, who are the guys, So this was in the 90s and early 90s, like 1990 actually, like Chubb Rock said, But we went to a few clubs, and then I started meeting some of the guys that he was talking about. It took me to a few different places, and these, everybody had these training spots in New York, different places, just randomly training, and he took me to one where I met the entire cast of Get Original, the earlier cast, and there were girls there and guys there and people from other countries. That's where I met, Storm and Emilio, Marcella, Dina Wandi, Masami, Wiggle's wife, Z. They were all there training. Rockefeller that was there training, and Louis kept pushing me. He was like, "Come on, honey, flip, show them how you can flip." I want to show you off and stuff. So I started flipping around, and then that's when they took a look, I guess, like, oh, she could flip, huh? So we started like exchanging moves, and they started teaching me. Legs came over. It was like, Yo Flow Master, who was Legs Almighty back in the day. I don't know if that was off record, but anyway, they said, he taught me some of my first footwork, and and then the rest there's a lot more after that.
Yeah.
But we'll cut to you.
What was the question?
So, how long have you been breaking, and what
Right.
got you into breaking?
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lord Jesus. You know what? I've been, believe it or not, I was breaking steady for a while. I'm on a type of on and off thing. I haven't been breaking. I've been in the scene, for over 30 years. When I was probably 12, 13 years old, which I'm talking about 80, 81, 82. And when b-boying or breaking hit hard in LA, I mean, it was just, oh my God, it was just something beautiful, something new. It was like a new world that you could transport yourself in through with just a dance. It was just something that took me out of my ugly circle and life that I was living, and it put me into somewhere where I felt respected, I felt appreciated, I felt that I could express myself, and this was happened about 1982, and I went to the once in the earlier phases of the dance. It took me to Las Vegas, it took me to New York. In the early stages of this dance, it took me to certain places and experiences that I'll never forget. And in about 86, when the scene started dying in California, the whole b-boying scene, I went back to school, of course, and finished high school, went to the military. I was in the first Gulf War, Desert Storm. I was a recon Marine. I did jump school, dive school. It was just a whole other different world that I was in, different laws, different beliefs and ethics. And so I did 4 years in the military, and then getting out of the Marine Corps in 1992, an old crewmate of mine, Little Caesar, approaches me, and he's like, "Orko, I finally found you. Everybody's been asking for you." And by then I was just my brain was still so programmed, from the military, especially being from the war and all the things that we've seen and we're exposed to. It was just kill, crush, kill. And he approached me. He's like, "Orko, everybody's been looking for you." And I was like, "For what?" He was like, "Everybody wants to see you dance again." And I go, "What are you talking about?" This is about late 92, early 93. And I go, "Dance what?" And he was breaking. I was like, "Breaking? Didn't it die out?" And he goes, "No." He goes, and now we're famous all over the world. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, all those shows that you did in Vegas and the practices that we did at Radiotron, those are tape that got, handed down from household to household, copied and pasted and copied and tapes, VHS tapes, got handed around, and they made it to Europe, they made it to Australia, to Japan. I was like, what? I don't believe it. He goes, yeah, we're famous now. And I was like, wow. So he showed me, there were some kids from Australia that came down, and the magazine was called Hype Magazine, and they had a couple of articles that are featuring us. This is in Australia, the crew author was called Bboy All-Stars from Australia. They showed us a lot of love and respect, and, I didn't know. We were just kids that did our thing in the early 80s, and we had a great time, but I never thought it would continue to flourish the way it did. And so in about 93, 94, he told me to, we started training again. And 6 months later, I lost the weight, I lost all that muscle mass, and we were actually doing shows in Japan once again. We were in Osaka, Japan. We did shows in Sapporo, and then we started throwing jams called the Radiotron jams once again in the 90s, which gave birth to the whole scene again, to Style Elements, to Renegades, to Master Movements, to all the crews in LA that you see, that flourished. The whole scene, it just exploded once again, and from the birth of that is when I got invited to go to New York and be part of the show with Get Original called Jam on the Groove, and then the scene just kept flourishing. It was just an excitement, an electricity in the air. Now the dancing was respected, on a different level as far as an artistic expression. It was now appreciated on stage, on theater. Now this dance, being that it was only, at that time was maybe 20 years old, but now it had vocabulary, it had names for all these moves. Now you could put it in a 8-count, a choreographed piece, So now it was at a different level than from the birth of it, when you just did a freestyle. And in the beginning, there was no names. There was nobody who invented what. And some things were called differently in New York than in LA. Like, we would call it turtles. They would call it in New York floats. But this dance, this culture, this phenomena is greater than me, greater than the guys in New York. So it just somehow, some of the names were evolved. Nobody could claim, I named it a windmill, or I named it, because at first it was the continuous backspin, the coin drop, just so many.
45.
It was called the egg roll. It was called all these names. And then eventually, it's like, finally, for some reason, the natures and powers that be just said, okay, that's the windmill. That's the swipe. That's the turtle. That's the halo. That's the, UFO, aerials. All these names that there was no names. Even when you did footwork, I know that in my neighborhood, in the early days, they used to call it, can you do the crazy legs? There was no names for it, it wasn't even called the 6-step. It was just, you do the thing, or then it was just the crazy legs, so. So when seeing that in the 90s, it was just an excitement, and now, wow, I'm getting to go to New York, and I'm on a different level now. And we did the whole media circuit. We did TV, newspaper, we did a whole world tour, and that was exciting. And then I finally felt that I got my artistic drive or satisfaction met from doing all those shows, and like, yes, finally I did it. I could hang this dance up. I'm done. Thank you very much. I could go out like a champion. Could check it off on my bucket list. One thing was jumping out of a plane. Check. Scuba diving. Check. Dancing on Broadway. Check. Just all these things that I had. Great. I become a dad, and then I leave the scene, and that's when the kids from Florida moved to Los Angeles, and then they took over LA, and then all the movies started coming in, and they kept it going. Renegade, Style Elements. What are they called? The kids from Florida, that crew.
Skill Methods.
Skill Methods.
Yeah.
So they took it over. They kept the scene. Akworth from Texas, and that's how that whole movement continued to stay alive. Most of those kids, were influenced by us. Some of them were taught by us, and I think because of the way that I presented myself and the way I carried myself, I always wanted to be a role model to all of them. my name is still around to this day. You know, they respect a lot of the things that I brought to the table in this game, and I've never, you know, sugarcoated anything. I've been raw, I've been real. So I think to this day I'm still here. I've tried to pull away from this dance always. I just wanted to be a regular dad that just barbecues and cuts the grass, you know. But I see the influence that we have sometimes on some youth that you know that you could make a positive influence and maybe steer this kid that might be going down the wrong path just by sharing this love of this dance, of this culture, of this form of expression, that it could make a whole life impact. And I know it did it for me. It did it for a lot of b-boys that are in the scene. You know, some of us might not be rich as far as material-wise, but, you know, we got a love from people all over the world. I could go right now to Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Poland. There will be a household that will open up and show me love and feed me and, you know, and fellowship with me. And I don't think that any rich man with money that has that. He has to buy everything. And I think this just naturally comes from the spirit of individuals, you know, wholeheartedly. And that to me is priceless. So, yeah. So now we're here in Georgia. There's still, I guess this work is not done. There's still more kids that need guidance, need this thing to help give them self-esteem, you know, motivation, drive, you know, discipline, commitment, you know. And we tell them to apply this, of course, to everything it has in life, you know, in their school, in their marriages, in their faith, you know. So I thought that I was done with this, but, you know, God still puts this in my path. You know, I'm almost 50 now, and I'm still, now again, I've definitely taken it a little more serious now, that we're the place where I'm at in life, where now I've got a beautiful woman, a strong woman by my side that is very nurturing, very inspiring, and is allowing me to be me, you know. And I'm just having the time of my life now, and I definitely want to enjoy it. And this is it. This is my calling. You know, this is what I was sent to do here on earth, I believe. And now it's awesome. I can't believe the people that we've affected, influenced, and touched all over the world. It's something that blew my mind. It was way beyond what I've ever thought it would be. I thought it was just my little hood in LA, and that's it. But it's a beautiful thing, definitely, that has happened.
I guess, just for clarity, so what are some things that you brought into the game?
You know, when the game first started in the late 70s, I wasn't in New York, but I was in New York in the early 80s. But the power moves were as they would come out or as they were invented, you know, just by just the natural progression of the dance or the challenges of how to move the human body in a certain circular momentum and being in control. It's just a natural progressive state of it. At certain moves, there were certain moves, everybody just did windmills in the beginning. And I think for me, when I first started, it was just, I learned how to spin it and go in momentum in the same direction, because I thought that I would have more combinations or put different combinations together, that if I were to battle, I would have more than that other guy, my opponent. So my thing and I guess my gift to the dance is that I was able to be one of the first ones that incorporated a lot of the power moves, from windmill to flare to turtle to backspin to halo to backspin 90 headspin, just go all in one momentum and combine these moves and combine them with, I could speed up, slow down, freeze, back into it, full power and control with finesse, and made it look flawless. So that was one. A lot of the headspins, they didn't exist at first at the way I had them. I know that Kid Freeze has, you know, the title of creating the headspins, staying on your head for continuous headspins. I heard that also Float, him and Float, or they had, you know, they put handcuffs on, they would take off their jacket, do all these tricks, and so here I did the same thing in LA, but it didn't exist. Nobody taught me. There was no video, there was no information, nothing. It was just me on my own practicing, and I was able to master the balance of this of headspins, and creating the little ball headspins and creating my radar headspins, which I arch all the way back. I eventually wanted to spin on my forehead if I could, just go as much as far back as I could to spin on my forehead. But those radar head spins came about, and then also the hopping on one hand. When you see everybody hopping on one hand, that's my move that I brought to the table.
The hand hop?
Yeah, hand hops. The one hand hops. And I left the scene in 98, and when I came back and I saw everybody hopping on one hand, I was like, wow, everybody's doing my move. So I felt beautiful and blessed that I had brought certain things to the table of this dance that will continue to live on after I'm gone here. I have never done a video, which honey, has seen my struggle in putting all this together, all this information, to letting out everyone know who did what and how it happened and how it flourished. You're probably the first one that is actually filming us and doing this. But so the one hand hops, the head spins, and then the combination of these power moves, it didn't exist before then. So I felt that I was able to put all this together and make it look flawless. Knighted a windmill to back from the head spin to back up to hopping on one hand to a freeze to back down. Incorporate flavor, power, finesse, all in one. So that's what I brought to the table.
That's dope. Well, thank you, Orko.
No.
I'll be hopping on it.
Yeah.
So now, I guess, what do you two think of, well, being from two different scenes, from New York, LA, and having been like around the world, around the U.S., how do you all see Atlanta with respect to the scenes where you all are from and the scenes that you all have seen?
I see Atlanta as a very young scene. And I just feel that given time and direction and just showing love the way they've embraced us, and just helping to bring other mentors and people that who we feel that they would be inspired by, to just come together and continue to help share the growth of this dance with this scene here. Because everybody, as soon as we got here, everybody was really, really cool, and just like wanting to learn, like, hey, what do you guys got going on? And they couldn't believe when they saw us at Marietta Square. They're like, what are you guys doing here? Like, we just popped up at the square. And there were B-boys practicing, and I was like, oh my God, they're dancing, let's go up there. And it was pretty cool, and it's been really, really a blessing being out here. The doors were opened. They took us in. We've judged competitions and helped out certain events, helped some people out with their events, and with North Carolina, Alabama, Nashville, here, Florida. So it's awesome to be here and be connected with those states and being, and help out, and actually even putting up a school. And, this has been my dream. I loved being a teacher and teaching everyone, the next generation, this dance style and our experiences. So it's been awesome. That's what I think about Atlanta. It's been really, really good to us. So I think this is, this is like home ground for us, That's why we bought property and have this school, and if all goes well, we get to stay here, and this is where they can see us. We could be buried in the backyard.
As far as for me, I do see Atlanta it's a neutral ground. You know what I mean? They say that this is the new Hollywood of the South. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Tyler Perry, and I forgot it. There's just another studio that's being built. You know what I mean? So this is the new Hollywood. There is a lot of potential here in Georgia for all these b-boys to take this, this art form and take it to another level, or take it to that level where they're making a good living off of it. You know what I mean? And be able to do what they love. And we've been around already. We've got the experience. We know what it takes. It does take commitment. It does take unity. And what happened in Jam on the Groove and Get Original, different people from different entities and lifestyles came together, and something beautiful happened. It can't just be Wally does it or Honey does it or me. It does take a group effort and a sacrifice. And, just like in anything else, and, in numbers you have power. Together you stand, and then separated you guys will fall. And so I see an opportunity here. A lot of the b-boys that I saw breaking a couple of years ago now have babies or jobs and all this stuff, and it makes life, to dance a little more difficult. But I want to show them that you can still be a working man, you can still be a husband, you can still have a family, and if you really love this as much as you say you do, then you could, take it to that next level, which is putting it on theater and social media and all these other things to take it to that next level. Definitely. Compared to LA, it was the same way. It was just new. It was urban. It was up and coming. And we're here to share all the experience and wealth and knowledge that we've learned throughout the years. And this is a dope place to be. You're close to Florida. You're close to Texas. You're close to New York. Flying into Atlanta, Hartsfield Airport, Jackson Airport. It's cheap. It's a hub base, airport. So flights could be. It's a cheap place where you can take a flight to. So let's see what happens. We put a studio. We've only been here 2 years now. We've had Don Campbell come through. We've had C. Boogie's been here. I mean, Ivan has been here. We've had Moy here. We've had who else have we had here?
Brian Green.
Born from Korea was here.
Born was here?
Class.
Yeah.
Frankie Flav, Tata class here.
Flowmaster.
So
Who
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely, man, we're here. Just to help and vibe and fellowship. Nobody's tripping. Nobody's trying to be rich but I'm gonna be the new casting manager and an agent for everybody and start pimping everybody 10%, 50%. You know what I mean? It's not about that. We're just trying to have a good time here and have a good life. So property's cheap out here. It's a good living, good weather. So I don't think we're going nowhere. So definitely.
Backyard.
So I guess this is a more personal question.
Right on.
So being from LA and New York, do you all miss the public transportation?
No.
Whoa.
No. I don't know what. You know what? New York is dope with the trains and this and that. It's very, very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
It's dope. I mean, I did enjoy going to New York. In LA,
I have a different.
I know.
He's from LA. I'm from New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? For me, Georgia.
Pickpocketers and the squishy, being claustrophobic in the train like a sardine, people pushing you. And it's like, no, I don't miss that. Nope, don't miss it at all. Getting to places, yes, it's easy. If you don't want to get stuck in traffic, you get on the train. It is the best way to, without having to be in traffic, but you're still dealing with everything else. It's hard.
Yeah.
If you're doing it every day and you're relying on it, that part was hard. Buses, trains, bad weather,
Right.
cold, and you got to look at people that don't like you or you don't like them. You don't want to be bothered. In the heat, when it was in the summertime and it was hot, everybody's breathing up on you and, sweaty and nasty. They smell.
Oh Lord.
Yes. I don't miss that. I enjoyed moving out and getting a car and being in my car. Yes.
Living it.
Yes.
You know what? For me.
But I know. Okay. But I'll let you say, and then I know I'll say something else.
No. But for me, I'm from LA, so LA, everything is there. Everything came to me. You know what I mean? Public transit. There was some buses. It's better than what I see here in Georgia. So in LA, the scene was where we were at. We were the scene, so everything came to us. We didn't really need a lot of transportation. In LA, believe it or not, and if you have West Hollywood or you have Orange County, the surrounding cities, it's very close. It's maybe like a 30-minute drive. You could go from LA down to Santa Monica Beach within 30 minutes, depending on traffic. So LA is really, really small. You could get to places. I remember people would roll in a station wagon. Everybody would just pitch in $1 or $2 and just go to these events or these battles. It was dope. We were just kids. Here in Georgia, there is no public transportation. It's very hard. Georgia is small, but it's big. For you from Kennesaw, where we're at, to get to Atlanta or Gwinnett, seems like you're going to another state. And the traffic is getting worse as the years go by, as the suburbs get filled, and the human population is growing. There is not good public transportation here in Georgia, I see. It's very difficult to get through. So B-boys, even from Marietta, to come to our studio to practice, it's a mission depending on what time of the day. You're just going to say, no, I'm not going to go because I'm going to be about an hour and a half in traffic. There's no public transportation, so I might not go. And I see that's one of the challenges that I've seen the B-boys here have in Georgia, the transportation. So from us to go from Kennesaw to Gwinnett, we're looking at a good hour, maybe, hour and
Oh, yeah.
15, you know,
So, like,
depending
yeah.
on traffic,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what I wanted to say is that as a teenager growing up, it was life's best thing because you couldn't drive. So I was taking public transportation at 7, 8 years old by myself, hopping on a bus to go to gymnastic practices or getting on a train. And, you know, it was kind of cool. Like my family would say, like my mom or my grandmother, like, get in the first train,
Right.
you know, I'll be waiting for you in the first car. You know, so they'll wait for me. I get on the train. You know, there were different ways of how we did it as kids. And then when we became teenagers, you know, something to do. Like me and my homegirls would be like, oh, let's go meet downtown. We'll go to Washington Square Park and hang out, you know, and whatever. So we would just jump on the train. And I used to meet multiple, and then even for practices, this is before kids now, before I had children. So I would meet, we would be like, all right, be in the, you know, 5th car. I'll be waiting on the downtown side. So we're like, all right, so we'll meet up with all our homies, you know, we'd meet up on that particular car. And it was awesome. You know, to be able to, what's up? And then we'd wild out, forget it. Like train times were awesome when you don't have, you know, children and a family to load your carriage up and down the staircase. You know, be with the carriage, like, oh my God, did I leave my baby on the train? You know, worried about stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun, you know, and it was it was a good method of how to get to practices when none of us had cars. You don't need a car in New York.
You don't.
It was too expensive, you know, then they started putting parking meters in the Bronx, like, randomly. You know, like, why are you gonna put a parking meter in front of my building? So you have to, like, overnight, you're feeding the meter, you know, and then you have alternate side. I like Georgia.
Right.
I do like Georgia. I don't miss you know, I don't miss certain things, you know.
Yeah.
But the clubs, you know, I do, and the lifestyle, the food, you know, the way you used to dress. You get to wear your fresh gear out there because you're always, you know, either on a train or on the bus. You know, always got to look fresh when you're walking up and down the street. But
Here, you just in the car.
here, you just throw on your sweats, you know, get in the car, you go to practice. You know, you got your knee pads on, whatever, and it is what it is.
Do people dress fresher in New York?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, because, you know, you're always outside. You're always in the public, you know, so people you're always getting.
I got my fresh pants.
No, I'm feeling that. I do my style like that, too. I got a style like that. No, they do. They take pride in their appearance out there in New York. It's always about their gear. Yeah.
Is it the same thing in LA?
You know what? As far as for b-boying, I've seen it go down. You know what I mean? In the 80s, even now, I carry myself a certain way where I have to match. I'm saying something. You know what I mean? If you ever see me in pictures or videos or whatever, you're gonna see me always, you know, dressed down. I mean, you got to represent. You're not gonna see me busted. I've seen b-boys like within the last 15, 20 years. The trend, they're like dancing in jeans and a you know, little polo button shirt. Like, dude, what are you doing? You're not going to church. You know what I mean? And some of these places, for me, I guess I'm still stuck in a time capsule. I see this, like, these big events or competitions as, like, our Academy Awards. You're there, maybe you're not even involved in the scene or one of the top performers or dancers, but you're there, you're going to, you know, when people go to the Grammys or the Oscars, they dress up and have a good night, and just it's just an aura and a feeling, you know, an environment from it. And that's how I see when I go to these events, like, wow, this is my Academy Awards. This is my, you know, big reunion or get together. So I want to represent. I want, you know, this is what you're there for. You're not there to, you know, in your school clothes or in your church clothes. I mean, the dress code was a lot different back in the day. You did not dress like how they dress nowadays. You know, in Georgia, I know that Georgia's got their own scene down here.
There's more
With
sporty
the-
now.
they've
More
got-
competitions now than it is like you're not going to a jam. You're going to a competition. So they're going there dressed to compete. They're going there.
Right, but
They don't want to mess
but
up.
we
their-
still represent it with your gear. You know
You
what I
did.
mean?
But back then there
it was-
weren't organized competitions.
No,
like
no,
that.
I'm saying I know, but I still carry myself the same way. I just that if I notice the difference is that, you know, there's certain b-boys that maybe do, but the majority of them just don't dress even the part. You know what I mean? And it's just our get together. Let's just, you know what I mean? Let's just dress appropriately to the event. You know what I mean? And
Right. Time and a place.
Right.
Time and a place.
So yeah, I've seen that. Atlanta has their dope scene. I mean, Atlanta here, I see that they're really big on clothing, on shoes. Like they clown you, you know, especially down at. They're really particular with their stuff. You know what I mean? There's some money here, and the people with money in the entertainment business that will, like, you know, they wear expensive stuff and this and that, and it's cool. You know, that's their thing. You know, I'm in a new place, I gotta respect it. So, but I think our look, our swag and flavor that we carry, because that's where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
It'll always be fresh. Like, it ain't always gonna come correct. We're never gonna show up busted. Trust me, never. You're gonna catch me busted.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well,
He's Mr. GQ.
you get the New York
Come on,
hat,
man.
you get the LA.
Yeah.
Oh, always,
Yeah,
dude.
New York.
Always.
New York.
And y'all got the Adidas pants.
Dude, look, we got the same
You get the
shoes.
Adidas shoes.
Such a biter.
And y'all got the red and black.
But he don't got the Latino.
Red, black, and white. I got
I'm trying to support my boy, Swift Rock. You know what I mean?
Swift
Old school
Rock.
B-boy from Germany. He gave me this as a gift at UDEF, you know what I mean? And I definitely, any B-boy that has been around in the scene and the struggles.
Yeah.
He's got a shop over there in Germany. He's got gear and stuff for sale online. You know, headband hats and beanies and what have you. So just definitely, if now that's another trend that I see, that B-boys are not wearing, you know, big corporation clothing. They're starting to rock their own gear. And it's cool. Now everybody's like, let's support our own stuff. Let's wear our own stuff. You know what I mean? Why are we buying $80 polo stuff or this or that? Let's just rock our own stuff. And
It's
I think
so
that's
hard
where
to
the
buy
trend.
somebody else's brand. Like
Yeah.
when we've been rocking the Bgirl, B-boy brands for so long that it's hard to like buy something that's so. I'd rather just keep supporting the B-boy and B-girl apparel.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I like that. It's fresh. It's our style. I keep trying to say I want to do something for the, you know, the older B-girl because I'm getting older. I'm like, okay, what am I going to wear now as an 80-year-old woman? You know, what's next in the B-girl? We're going to still rock the same
You
stuff.
still want to get down.
Yeah, we're trying to, some stuff in the works.
Definitely, man.
Wow. I know now, like, a lot of people, we go to Goodwill now to get vintage stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Le Coq, like the French one, and just look at like windbreakers, old school like Adidas windbreakers.
Yeah.
And now, because like they're considered out of style in like the generic like society,
Right.
you can get them for like $7.
Yeah. Crazy.
Everybody used to rock the members only jackets back in the day, all the old school poppers. What is it called? Fila.
DVDs. DVDs.
There's
Is it
another
DVD?
one.
Yeah.
BB.
DVDs.
BVDs were like the t-shirts that were
They're
made out
very
of
silky.
silk and you could spin on them. They were dope.
The mock necks
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
to spin. Yeah.
People wear daishikis back then. People are getting into daishikis now.
Yeah. Not so much. Not so much for breaking. But now it's another style that it's evolving. So shout out to Soul 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can. So I guess I just two more questions.
Yes,
and
sir.
thank you for like opening it up, you know.
Awesome.
So I guess where do you see the local scene going, and where do you see the global scene going for breaking?
Well, okay. I'll go first then. You know what, the local scene, I mean, I think for us being here in Georgia and trying to inspire and motivate and give direction, so people could express themselves is dope. We're making a big influence. We came to a city of Akworth where this is not hip-hop country or land. You know, we're maybe 35 minutes from Atlanta, downtown. So, but now the word is out and we're here, and I think it just adds that much more, essence to the whole culture here in Georgia. You know what I mean? It's just a win-win situation. You know what I mean? Now they've got individuals that have been there, done that, and we're here. You know, I've seen the positive influence we've had on all the B-boys, and so just working together, networking, and maybe getting other artists, like I said, to come through and just keep the scene alive, you know what I mean, and keep it going. Globally, oh my God, it's just, it just took off, and now I see that they're teaching b-boying in Tanzania and Africa. There's crews out there. They're learning how to rock. They're learning how to lock. It's just, it was just LA and New York when I first came up, and that's it. That's it. LA had the popping and the locking, you know, and New York had the New York swag and flavor with b-boying, and then it just took off. It took off, like I said, to Japan, to Europe, to Korea, you know, Thailand, Philippines. You know, it just took off. Like New Zealand, Holland, I mean, Finland. Now I've been to Colombia, Mexico, South America, Peru, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Salvador. It's just incredible, and these people feel the same drive, the same passion, the same love, you know, and it's all the same language. Like, oh my God, you know, now with UDEF, with the Freestyle Session, with Battle of the Year, all these major competitions, and Red Bull, BC1, you know what? I feel that some of the b-boys are spoiled now because you have these avenues, you have these quick platforms, you have YouTube, you have access to all this stuff. You know, so definitely don't take it for granted. Respect it. You know, make the best of it. You know, in the time that you're gonna be in this dance. You know, you're gonna definitely. You guys are at a way better position than when we were when we started. I was telling you earlier that in the early days of b-boying, before it was even called hip hop, we were not allowed in dance studios. You know, there was this negative stereotype of us being little poor inner city kids dancing on cardboards from broken families, dancing on the corners, asking for money like if we're, you know, panhandlers or something. I was like, dude, I have great parents that instilled great discipline, honor, respect, loyalty, faith. What are you talking about? They would look down at us. It was almost like racism towards our dance. You know, at that time it was only tap, modern dance, jazz, ballet. That was all that was really known in the industry, in dance studios, on TV and movies. And so this birth of this culture, this movement was a threat to the establishment at that time. And through a lot of hard work, sweat, blood, dedication, perseverance, this dance was able to come in and take over. And now we're here. Now we're allowed in movies and Step Up, and you think you could dance, and so you got served, and Missy Elliott tours, and you know all this stuff that has flourished from it. And now Usher's doing it, and Chris Brown is going to Freestyle Sessions, and he's down. They just did Battle of the Year movie and all this. It's just now there's a bigger global respect and understanding of it, you know, and it's just bringing us all together. Amen.
So I have a different outlook on how I view this. I view the dance as an evolution. There's now it's growing into another level of organized competitions. I think there's different separations of what's going on with this dance. Okay, there's culture, there's there's theatrical side of it. You can go do theater if you want, Broadway shows or off Broadway, tour the world with dancing
Cirque
on
du
stage.
Soleil is hiring a lot of
Cirque du
b-boys.
Soleil is hiring. I just saw something.
Cirque du Soleil is hiring b-boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been touring with them. A lot of cruise ships are hiring b-boys.
Cruise ships. So like it's provided opportunities for this style of dance to be taken to another level. You know, and maybe we were
also
the
Jabberwockies are on Vegas.
Right.
On a Vegas show.
Right. I think I saw something yesterday that Storm has a theater show now in Germany, or they're about to do it, or I gotta read more into it. And then there's there is the dance events and the dance culture side, where the locals are having their local jams, to bring together and share this dance style. And that part is growing, and that's incredible. But at the same time, yes, we do need more unity. We do need a lot more people to get together, and because it's as we think it's big, but it's not that big. Certain amount of people in each country, state are doing it. Not on a, I feel it's not that global enough to where we are. Because now I have a school this is our year 3, and I feel like I wish it could be on another level, and it's not. I think what I teach is more popular with the boys, and living here in the suburbs, I'm in competition with sports being in the suburbs. So they would like to go more with basketball and soccer because it's more an established sport for the parent to invest their kid in, because breaking in their eyes is not there yet. And I really haven't been able to show them Well, yeah, look, we have a circuit. We're competing, 10 competitions a year in these different states, and all of us are not there together. So my hopes and dreams are that there will be, in a certain radius, about 10 different breaking schools where we can form like martial arts and form like these different competitions, for the business side of it, to take this to another level and be able to, sky's the limit with what we can do with this, if this is what you want to do out of this, And this is what I love, because I'm from that sports side with gymnastics, and I was able to get a taste of the culture side and get a taste of the theater side. So this studio, it basically encompasses all of it, and it's a lot of fun, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I think right now what we're dealing with too, which we're probably not as popular, is the music of today. I think the music is a big, so now we've got even another style of dance called the party dance style. So, our kids are kind of like going into these different avenues. What we're doing now is not as popular. We hit a good wave for a long time, and now it's kind of like people are going into different directions. I know we will prevail, like this dance. This is another category that's not going anywhere. Breaking, popping, locking, there's vocabulary, there's foundation, there's levels, there's years of learning different moves. There's so many years, like from kindergarten to being in 12th grade, like 12 years and beyond. Because I've been in this since 1994 officially, where I started really dancing with the guys in training, their foundation, and that's 20 years already in this. So I'm in the master's program, or what's after master's, doctrine, so I'm like in my doctrine years now after all these years, and I haven't stopped. I keep learning. I'm still, trying to learn where things came from, how different international countries think about this dance, and I just feel internationally they think about it a little more seriously than we do. Once again, because of the music out here, it's different. Asia and Europe, I think, are more on it's respected a lot more than we are here. I don't know why. I think what we have is an incredible opportunity for kids to have different outlets. I think this should be more. This should be in every single school in the education system. It's important. So that's my view on it.
You're going to team up with local schools?
Yeah, we're doing it. I teach at 4 different schools here in Georgia now. I'm in the Board of Ed school. Remember, I wanted you to teach, too. Yep. So I teach like 3 elementary schools and 1 middle school.
Okay.
Right now. But I want to be in as many schools as I can, I want to start teaching. My new thing is try to teach the teachers how to teach and certify teachers to be able to, help them with getting opportunities. If this is something that they want to do with teaching children how to dance or whatever, then I'd love to help share my experiences with teachers as well and help certify them. Make it official, yo.
It's like with the judging. They're making judges certified for international competitions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
Well, we're very young in this process, and just like ballet hundreds of years ago, we're only, in the 40s?
Yeah.
So hopefully we get to see it in our lifetime. If not, we'll be, backyard, people, no.
People didn't like jazz when it came out.
Yeah.
Or modern.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
And now they're going back to it. It went crazy now, the past few years. The show like Dance Moms helped bring that out. The dance studio business, they started, all these kids started taking contemporary modern dance ballet. And I think it's awesome. I think that's foundation of the dance. I think all the kids need to, and we do incorporate those classes here as well. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's cool.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. Is there any last words y'all want to say?
For me, I mean, just it's been a beautiful journey for me. I've witnessed and I've gotten an opportunity to meet different people from all over the world, and fellowship with them. One thing that, from all the hard blood, sweat, and tears that I put into the game, when I became a dad, for me, I would, you know, I always believed that I would always get the love from hip hop, you know, genuinely for what I did, what I contributed to the dance. You know, I see, when I left the scene, of course, you know, I put on some weight and became just a regular average dude for the general population of the community. I was in shape for them, but for B-boy, you got to be diesel. There's no way 6-pack ripped. You got to be vegan. You got to starve yourself. You got to do the jacuzzi and saunas. You got to. It's a level that is just, you're a superhuman, right? So when you fall off a little bit and take a little break off, like, oh, he fell off, he got fat, or this or that. You know, I saw some of that, you know, being portrayed towards me. You know, even after like all that I have done for the dance. So I wish that B-boys would give more respect to a lot of the pioneers, a lot of the elders in this dance, to New York City Breakers, to Dynamic, to Incredible Breakers, to Rocksteady, to Air Force Crew, to the Rockin' Wizards, to the LA Breakers from LA. You know, these are all foundation and pioneer crews that help pave the way for these B-boys that are now working and touring and traveling and making a living off of it and getting sponsorships. There's people that have paved the way for you. Don't ever forget about them. Love them regardless if they were in the scene or not. If Michael Jordan shows up to a place, he gets love. Mike Tyson, you know, Allen Iverson, you know, Dominique Wilkins, you know, Spud Webb. These
Nadia Comaneci.
Right? So they show up to these places. They still get love.
Mary Lou Retton.
They still get love genuinely, you know, in the spite of where they're at in their life if they're not even involved in the scene. So that's one thing I would like to just say to the scene, you know what I mean, that show love to these B-boys. Generally, not to blow up their egos, not to sweat or nothing, but just give thanks for those founding fathers of this dance, you know, that you are now reaping and enjoying a lot of the benefits from it.
Yep. Yep.
Well, that's cool. Right. So,
Yeah, man. So
I'll be on the lookout for like the Rockwell Dance Academy doing their shows in New York and LA.
yes, sir.
Do those homecoming tours.
Definitely. We got a lot of kids that are up and coming, you know, great potential. You know what I mean? If we could pass that knowledge and spirit on to them, which I see that, you know, that some of them are, it's never gonna die. It's gonna continue to live on beyond our lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm approaching 50, you know, and it's just like, I don't know how much longer I could do this. You know, I don't know why. I can still spin, I can still get down, I can still put it down. So it's going to be a beautiful thing that I did come to this planet and this earth, and I did make an influence, you know, something that to be isolated or to be that kind of an influence and an impact on this global planet, you know, that hip-hop allowed us to do. I feel that I have accomplished what I was set to do, so look out. We've got some kids that are threats in the scene, you know, so definitely.
So we're back 2017.
You know what? I definitely feel good. I definitely feel really good. My training is coming along. You know, I'm being smart and wise about my diet and sleeping and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So I definitely, I've got still a couple of tricks up my sleeve. So, vamos a ver. You know.
Actually, Waba.
You know.
See yourself tomorrow at Waba.
Tomorrow I want to.
The samurai battle at Waba.
Right. I want to introduce. I want to enter it just to introduce. I mean, for myself, I haven't really let loose. You know, people like yourself and the youth of the last 10, 15, 20 years, they hear of Orko. Orko, who's Orko? I don't know, whatever. But they've never really seen me open up. Sometimes you go to these events or these competitions where the music I'm not feeling or the groove is not right. I haven't had a chance to really explode and then show myself. Like, oh my God, that's why they call him, or that's why they talk about him the way they do. I haven't had that yet. You know what I mean? Because of work, because of health, because of weather, because, you know. So to me, I still yearn to like show everybody who I am, you know, one more time. And I want to introduce also one of our top kids in the scene, Bboy Jamrock and Code Red. They're kids that are like taking this and love it and are passionate about it. So I'm going to enter with them on a 3-on-3 tomorrow. And, you know, I think we're going to be good. We've got some arsenal, you know, so I know you're entering too. So look out, man.
Yeah.
Look out, no hard feelings, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's what it's all about. That's what
Yeah.
elevated this dance, and that's what that competition is. What keeps us alive and going, you know, that testosterone. Like, what? I got you, you know?
I work
So-
on headspins now. Go home.
Definitely, man.
Back tucks.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm back.
I saw you at Silverback with that dude, when you were battling that dude, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was right there. How you,
see.
I mean, so that I loved it because I saw that's what the heat of this dance is. Like Wally didn't back down.
Oh,
He's
yeah?
yeah. He went
Man, I
at it with
missed
this
it.
dude. Yeah, it was like it was raw.
Okay,
It was
okay.
raw. So
A main circle or the?
no, it was like on a break, but it was like they were battling for real. They were
Do
going
you have
at
it?
it.
Did anybody get it?
We
I was
just did
ready.
it.
Yeah,
It was fun.
it was dope. Well, and you know what? When you get to that intensity, that adrenaline, you come out of stuff and pull out stuff that you can't even practice at, you know, at a regular session. It just comes out of you because your blood is pumping, the excitement. You don't want to lose. You don't want to look like a buster. So that thing brings the best out of you. So the competition side and the battles of this dance is what took it to the level that it did. You know, the battles. So definitely not. So hopefully you'll pull out some rabbits that I have.
I'm pulling some rapids too. Well, what about you, honey?
I'll be home. I need to rest. Business meetings on Monday.
Okay.
Yep. Bboy business, Bgirl business. Gotta work on all my curriculums.
All right.
And
Beast
You know how they had the, you know how they had the, you know, big shout outs and respects to Legs and to Storm that they did the, you know, the veterans battle a couple months ago. It was dope. It got the whole scene inspired again. You know, a lot of the veteran people were like, oh, what? They're doing it? That's dope. You know, I'd like to see one day Rockefeller and Honey go at it, you know, for the Bgirl scene. They're the veterans of the Bgirl scene
Oh
of this
my
game.
God.
And it'll be dope. You know what I mean? That they